All right, I think I'm live now. I was live for about 24 seconds, apparently, and then I got cut off. So I'm back, even though for those that are tuning in right now, I'm here for the first time. And welcome, all you Lovecraft Country folk. I think I'm going to start calling you guys that now, the country folk, the Lovecraft Country folk. I don't know, or maybe the um yeah, the love country folk. I don't know. What's a good name for us? We got to come up with a good name for our little band of whack jobs who love this show and a bunch of weirdos, right? Because this is a show that's very strange, and I believe you have to have a little bit of weirdness in you to really enjoy it. But is it wonderful? Definitely it is. So, thanks, guys, for tuning in. Like and subscribe to the page if you enjoy my rambling here about each episode. There's so much to unpack in this one. But I want to start with something different today. I want to start with the music because this show really utilizes music very well to tell the story. In fact, I was in one of the groups, Lovecraft groups on Facebook, and someone was a bit confused about what had happened with Ruby and William. Well, how did Ruby end up sleeping with him? Well, gotta listen to the music, guys. There was a Marilyn Manson song, I Put a Spell on You. And if you listen to the lyrics to that song, it's gonna pretty much tell you what he did. He just hypnotized her, he did something to her. But so music is a very important part of the show. Listen to it as part of the plot, as part of the narration. But here we go. I actually have the songs from tonight's episode in case you're out there looking for it. So we have Tonight You Belong to Me by Patience and Prudence. We have Dark Phrases by Janet League from For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough, which I loved. I had never heard this before. I thought it was Sonia Sanchez for a second, but I definitely want to check that out. Okay, 1976. That was the spoken word piece that you heard at the beginning when Ruby slash Miss Davenport were were, who knows, sitting on the bench outside. We have Return to Love by Black Atlas. We had Between the Devil and the Blue Sea, which is a George Harrison song, but it was sung by the actors on the show. They love Cardi B, so more money. They keep playing that song. Bad Religion by Frank Ocean, which was such a good choice, the obvious choice, right, for this episode, where it was, other than being Ruby's episode, it was Montrose's coming out party. And Frank Ocean is someone who, once he came out of the closet, really went off the radar. I remember he was the new voice, the new singer that everybody was like, "Oh my God, this is the guy. This is the new Maxwell, the new D'Angelo, the new whatever, the new hot thing." And then he came out of the closet, and it's like, boom, what happened to Frank Ocean? I hope to hear more Frank Ocean music, but it really is telling because one of the things that I think is most difficult in our society still is for black men to come out of the closet because black men are still held to a lot of masculine tropes, masculine stereotypes that they have to play to. And Montrose is a reflection of that. He could pass as a straight man, but he's not. And he's definitely not, as we saw in this episode. And you can see where all this rage and all of this is bubbling inside of him. He was able to, I guess, come to some sort of terms with it this episode, but we'll see where that leads. We'll talk a little bit about that later in this little review slash commentary on this episode. Please Give Your Love to Me by Robin Robinson. We had Tutti Frutti by Pat Boone when the white girls were downstairs in the department store dancing along. And Pat Boone, for those that don't know, was a white singer who sang black music and sold it to white audiences because, white audiences couldn't handle black artists, and this was very common in the 1950s. Elvis Presley made a career out of it. So they had these kind of watered down versions of black music to sell to white audiences. Pat Boone was one of these guys. My Baby, Dearest Darling by The Charms. And then we had Sweetly Sad by Alan Bernard Dennis. Melody in F, Trevor Brown. And then we got the king of rock and roll, the real king, Little Richard, Tutti Frutti, rest in peace. Lovin' Machine, sung by the actors of the show, but it's originally by Wyone Harris. And then this song I fell in love with, which is what made me look up these songs. Lonely World by Moses Sumney. I had never heard of him, her, I don't know who Moses Sumney is. And I thought it was Nina Simone for a second, and then I was like, wait, this is way too modern sounding. Unless they did a remix of one of her songs, which, by the way, if you haven't heard Lauryn Hill's album, which is kind of a dedication to Lauryn Hill, Do It, where they do some remixes of her songs, and it's wonderful. Really, really, really great album. But I'm definitely gonna check these guys out, or this guy, or this gal, or whoever Moses Sumney is. Definitely gonna do that. And we also had Cardi B's Bodak Yellow, because they just love Cardi B. This is the most Cardi B I've listened to in my entire life, which is interesting considering, she came out with her wet ass pussy, and she's extremely popular at the moment because of that song. But let's get to it. Okay, so the show opens with Ruby waking up as a white woman, and not just any white woman. Do you guys know who this white woman is? Well, she's played by Jamie Newman, and it's Dell. Dell was the woman in Artem, okay, that Letitia had hit with the shovel. Remember, she was guarding Tower, and she was real racist and a real bitch. Jamie Newman, great actress. She is now Ruby. Okay, but Ruby's inside her, and it's kind of like a uh, what was that movie, Freaky Friday type situation. And man, did she do a good job, because even little things like the way that Ruby, she kind of shakes her head when she talks a little bit, she kind of does a double take. This is Wunmi Mosaku, who plays Ruby Baptiste. She just got it down. She got it down, and she really played her wonderfully. So great job. I mean, all the actors here are wonderful, but I didn't expect that to happen. And apparently, that is what the trade-off was. What the thing is that William told Ruby, said, I could change your life. And by the way, some folks I saw in the Facebook groups, the Lovecraft Country, were confused about why did Ruby sleep with him. Guys, you gotta listen to the music, which is why I pulled out the music stuff. Gotta listen to the lyrics of the songs that they choose, the music that they choose, because it's telling part of the story. In that specific scene where they're in the bar, the song was by Marilyn Manson. I Put a Spell on You. By the way, Marilyn Manson also has new music out, and I love me some Marilyn Manson. It's gotten really good reviews, even though he's a little bit more toned down these days, which is fine. He's an older dude. He doesn't have to be insane his whole life. Um, and playing insane rock music, right? But yeah, that pretty much told you what was happening. He hypnotized her. He put a spell on her. The show's all has magic in it, so pretty much that's why he what he did. But well, we find out a little bit later why he may have picked her to do his bidding. And so now that she's a white woman, she's exploring what life is as a white woman. So it's a little bit of trading places too, this episode. And funny thing is that past week, I guess, for whatever reason, you're in the shower, you start thinking about shit. And I was thinking about, would would I ever trade, places and be white for a day? Or for a week, or for however long, and I wonder if most people would be willing to do that nowadays. I'm not sure if the answer would be no across the board. I mean, I'm at a point in my life where definitely no, I'm fine being who I am. It'd be interesting, I guess, maybe for an experiment, maybe one day. For one day, I could do it, or a weekend, let's say. But I'm really comfortable in my skin. But maybe when I was much younger and kind of susceptible to all the negative media images of black folks and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe. And I'm talking about when I was like 15, 16. I didn't know well enough. And that's fine. I have no problems admitting that. But the other way around, I was thinking about it the other way around. Would a white person switch places with a black person? So leave a comment below if you are white. Would you be willing to live as a black person? Would you be willing to switch, or maybe not switch, but just a um, become a white person? Okay, this episode reminded me of a Chris Rock sketch where he says, I doubt it. And he makes in the joke, he talks about like there's an usher in the theater. He's like, I bet you the usher in the theater, I mean, look at me, I'm a millionaire. I'm super famous. But if I asked him, would you want to be Chris Rock? Would you be black? He'd probably say no. I'd rather be an usher uh, in a theater. And it's telling, right, that I think most white people would say no. And it's okay, be honest. It's fine. Given what black people go through, it's totally understandable, guys. Totally understandable. You will get no hate from me if you say, no, I would not switch places with a black person or just become a black person tomorrow, like Kafka's Metamorphosis. That would not be cool for me. But here we go. We got Ruby experiencing what it's like to be white and the currency she has now. William left her a whole bunch of money to use, and she didn't use any of it. She was getting, free ice cream. So, um, it's very, very telling. Oh, and by the way, something I always forget to do at the start of every episode, like and subscribe if you dig my little. I did it the first time around, the stream that got cut off. But like and subscribe if you dig my ramblings about Lovecraft Country. Monday nights, I'm on with my friend Pete. We're going to be talking cuties, by the way. That movie is very controversial at the moment, so of course I'm going to watch it and talk about it. Tomorrow night, we're on about 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, sometimes 10 p.m., but we're definitely on. So check that out. But back to Lovecraft Country, all you Lovecraft Country heads. Anyway, we got to find something quicker and faster. Like you got the Trekkies, you got the X Phillies, Lovecraft, maybe the Love Country heads. I don't know. We got to come up with something. Uh, put it down in the comments. We'll come up with a nice name to call one another. So Ruby realizes that being white is all right. Okay, she becomes the assistant manager at this department store. She tries to get more information on this girl here who was working there, who she lost the job to. I believe her name is it Tamara or Tammy? Um, yeah, I was just bragging about that's Tamara. Look at that, good memory. But because I was just bragging about how I was able to remember all the names, but she you can see she's a little bit jealous. I thought that what she was gonna do, and I even told my friend Renee, who I was watching the episode with, and I'm mixing up these streams now because I was talking for about 10 minutes before I realized I wasn't being recorded. But if I repeated this now, sorry, but I've been watching these with my friend Renee in Rio, and she just got into the show. So last week I got to watch episodes 1 through 4 with her, which was really cool. But I even mentioned to her during the episode, I said, I'm not that much of an evil person in my personal life, but within the character of Ruby, if I were in her position, I think I would have hired myself. Like I would have gone in as a white woman, say, "Look, I got this black maid or whatever that works for me. She's really good. She's a nice worker. Here's her resume." Or maybe gotten Tamara fired first, so then, oh, we need a new black girl in here. But I guess it speaks volumes about Ruby that she didn't do that. But you can definitely see that the white being white was sort of messing with her head a little bit. The power that she got, and that extends even further when she has a conversation with Christina, where Christina said, "What is Ruby Interrupted really like?" He didn't give you this power to be white just so you can be an assistant manager at a store. It's so that you can really do everything that Ruby has ever wanted to do, and just do it. And she does at the end. We'll get to that a little bit later in the podcast. And well, trust me, we'll get into Christina and William too. Uh, which a lot of you guessed right. So, man, uh, people in these Facebook groups, they're awesome. They get all this stuff before almost anybody. So they're really, really good at figuring shit out. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So, but Ruby, she did kind of sign a deal with the devil. Oh, by the way, we got a viewer. If we do, say hello. Um, how are you? It's 2:30 a.m. here in Brazil, so probably 1 o'clock in the morning out there in the U.S. Maybe I got somebody on the West Coast listening. It might be like somewhat of a reasonable hour. Ruby she has a little task at hand, okay, and her task is to put this kind of wooden talisman or whatever the hell it is that Christina gives her into the office. She needs to hide it in the office of the police chief. And it's the same police chief that had taken Christina in last week. So you get this sense that, well, you don't get the sense, it's pretty clear that Christina and this cop do not get along. Uh, Basically, because this cop is trying to take over this lodge, and Christina is like, yo, you're not gonna get away with that. Okay, you're not gonna get away with that. But we get more of that frustration that Christina is like, I can't have any power because I'm a woman. Okay, so the show does really make sure to also show the plight of women in the 1950s. Uh, and I'm really happy that they had this scene between Ruby and Christina, where Ruby explains to her that just because you're a woman and I'm a woman, it's like worlds apart, the things that we go through. And that's really interesting, especially if you start to get into black feminism. And yes, there's a black everything, guys. Don't get butthurt about it because it is a different experience. There's a certain privilege that white feminists have gotten in society that black, I shouldn't say white feminists, but white women, that black women haven't been afforded. And even in the fight for equal rights for women, it was mainly white women. There was a different struggle when it came to black women trying to fill those same spots. So it's really important that Ruby had this conversation. I'm glad they didn't kind of just float over it, especially given that Christina opened up that topic. And it's like, you know, uh, I kind of, I know what it's like. She started with this, I know what it's like to be a woman. And Ruby's like, shut the fuck up, because you have no idea of what being a black woman is like. It's another, it's a whole nother level, right? So that was really nice. But Ruby does do this, and she continues playing white. Okay, she continues playing white, and we will get back to what goes on with Ruby and the rest of this episode. But now, we'll spend a little bit of time with Tick and Letitia. They weren't the main pieces of this story, which is fine. I mean, it's good that we get to see the other episodes. I was hoping that the show would develop the other episodes, especially Dee and Hippolyta. I've been a champion of them since episode one. I really need to see these characters develop. Last we left them, they were on their way to Lovecraft Country up in Maine. So I hope we get to see a whole lot more of them because they're two of my favorite characters. They just haven't really explored them that much. But this episode made me happy because it showed that they are willing to explore the other characters and explore them deeply. And they're just not like side characters, they're like deep in the plot. So hopefully we'll get way much more of that with Hippolyta and Dee. But what's going on with Atticus and Lita? Well, to begin, Atticus beat the crap out of his dad when he found out that he let Yahima go, which he understood very clearly as he killed her. I'm surprised it took Lita that long to figure it out. But it ends up she took pictures of the book. The what is it? The book of names, or I forgot now. But you know what book I'm talking about, right? Titus's book that Montrose had burned up. She took she took pictures of it, and they are trying to um they're trying to decipher it because it's not in English. And uh, Atticus has three letters that he found, inside the ring. It's got his initials, and Ruby. They took a picture of something that was translated. I didn't catch where it is that they got the translation to this. I think it was the word protection, and so they're trying to decode what it says inside of this book. And we also find out towards that the same symbol, there's a symbol on this little talisman that Christina gives Dee, which is the same as a symbol that they have in one of the pictures that Lita took. And the conclusion of this is that the Montrose, Atticus does decipher some of it, and it has his name and it has the word die. So he calls that Korean girl again, Liha, I think was her name. Lia, Nia, I forgot now. Forgive me. And she tells him, "I told you not to go back." Because he says, "How did you know?" So obviously she told him something over in Korea, and it involved, "Don't go back home because shit's gonna get wild." And then she hangs up the phone on him. So that's the mystery right now, right? This show is playing a little bit of Lost in some of its parts, but it's been interesting so far. And at least it's moving a little bit faster than Lost. As much as I love Lost, man, was that a frustrating show back in the day. We have to wait 1 week for 5 minutes worth of exposition sometimes. The plot would move forward just like 5 minutes. And you're like, no! But this show packs in a lot week to week. So good for them. And, it was a different time back then. So they had to kind of stretch it out. 24 episode seasons, 20 episode seasons. You got to stretch it out. But let's get to our boy Montrose. Because he gets the shit beat out of him at the beginning. You can see he's got the left eye. And man, my friend Stephanie made a funny comment. Because I told her this is the same dude from what's that show? The Wire, right? He was the gay gangster in The Wire, and she's like, "Oh no, they've typecast him now." So I don't know anything about Michael K. Williams' personal life, but I don't know if he's gay or not. Apparently, he has no problems playing gay. Okay, but he was Omar Little. That was his name. I wasn't a huge fan of The Wire. I mean, it's a good show. I just haven't finished it yet. It didn't catch my attention that well. Didn't hold my attention, I should say. But hey, who knows? I don't know anything about him on a personal level, but he ends up at his friend Sammy's house. And remember Sammy from episode one? He's been in a couple more scenes since episode one, but it was curious to me. Why would they show this guy getting a blowjob, right? It seemed kind of just out to left field, but hey, it's that golden rule of filmmaking or storytelling in general. Don't show something the beginning if you're not gonna come back to it, right? Don't show a gun at the beginning of the movie if you're not gonna use that gun at the end of the movie. So here we are. We find out that Montrose is definitely into this dude 100%, and he's not even trying to hide it. Every scene that they had together, I was like, wait, is he gonna back out at the last second, or is he going to do one of those, oh, I can't do this, or this is not me? No, he was in there, literally in there. If for those of you that watched the episode, I can't show those images on YouTube or I'll get kicked off. But he was literally in there, okay, with just a little bit of saliva. So my goodness, Sammy is open. He is an open man. And he also happens to be a drag queen, and he does a drag show, and that was kind of cool. They went to a drag bar or a gay bar, and that was the picture that you saw at the beginning, also the thumbnail, where Montrose, he's kind of standing there, he's all stiff, uh, because they haven't even kissed yet, and then he starts dancing, and he lets the music get into him, and he kisses Sammy, and wow, that's it. This episode. And again, I think it's one of the toughest things, black male masculinity, and uh, not feeling like you're being emasculated, because black men have been emasculated. When they came here as slaves, they were emasculated. Their women were raped in front of them, right? And they couldn't do anything about it. And it's still something that psychologically I think black men still hold, that they're not able to hold down a black woman, you know? And oof, it's a lot to unpack when you get into black male sexuality. It's a great documentary about it. I forgot the name, so I don't know. I shouldn't have brought it up, but I, I do recall watching it about 10 years ago. And it talks about everything from just even the slang words that black men use, like cool and ice. And I mean, look at the rappers. You have Ice T, Ice Cube, to be cold, to be distant, that's considered masculinity for blacks, not showing any emotion, not showing any tenderness. Now, white men also have some of these stereotypes that they live off of, but they've been given more liberty to explore different parts of their sexuality, their masculinity, right? Whereas black men have not. Although, thank you, Michael Jordan, for giving us great memes and crying all the time, right? It's okay to cry, and you're still the greatest of all time. You're still a man. So it's something that hopefully will continue to change. I do appreciate that about some of these young. I guess you want to. Are they rappers or trappers? I don't know, but it's kind of cool that they're heterosexual, but they play with masculinity a little bit. And like what's the one X Tech? What's his name? The boy that got shot. Um, Extension or something, whatever his name was. Um, but I thought he was gay, but apparently he had a girl, and apparently he was very violent to her. So who knows? Maybe he had a little bit of this Montrose issue with him too. Um, Travis Scott is another one that I think I heard somebody say that it was bisexual, but I'm not sure. Um, but you see, they're kind of gothic. They wear some makeup. They got this kind of gender bending thing going on, but they're very masculine at the same time. This is something new, for black men, I think, still. Prince broke the mold a little bit, but Prince is very feminine, extremely feminine, or was, rest in peace. Um, Masculine men who can play off of their more feminine side, that's something that is still taboo, I believe. And it's still taboo because you hear black men talk about this. How for them when a man dresses in drag or when a man is in a movie as a playing gay, it's the big it's the gay conspiracy, it's the gay agenda, it's the emasculation of black men. And it's like, no, dude, it's is Wesley Snipes less of a man because he did Tu Wong Fu? They never had that conversation with Patrick fucking Swayze. Wasn't he in that movie? Right? They never have that conversation when a white dude dresses in drag, that now he's less of, Robin Williams. Was he less of a man because of Miss Doubtfire? They put him in a fucking dress, but then it's a conspiracy when they put a black man in, like Flip Wilson's in a dress, Martin Lawrence is in a dress, what's his name? Arsenio Hall's in a dress. And it's crazy. Even someone as intelligent as Dave Chappelle, I've heard talk like this. So you see that there's still that barrier there. So this show is going deep by um, allowing Montrose to be a quote unquote what would pass as a heterosexual male, but he's 100% gay. Because not only did he fuck the dude, he was sucking him off the next scene. I was like, okay, I guess he came and he was just going to use him as a cum hole, right? Uh, a sperm bank. I was like, okay, that kind of fits into the whole, like I'm a man, I don't give my ass type thing. I'm not gay if I don't get it up the butt. And then he went down on boy. And I was like, okay, okay. So let's see where it goes. That's pretty deep. That's some deep shit right there. Um, well, getting back to my girl Ruby though, because after she finds out that, hey, the reason you were given this magic was to be Ruby interrupted. So she goes up to her manager, who, by the way, was in South Chicago, because she kind of forced Tamara to take everyone in the shop down to South Side Chicago. And the manager tried to, pretty much rape Tamara. And she hit him, ran off. She called her a stupid nigger. And uh, he was ready to fire her. So Ruby got her revenge. She said, as Miss Davenport, she came in saying she was gonna uh, leave, quit. And why? Because she had this strong sexual desire for her boss. And in that, she started tying him up, going all bondage on him. And ends up, hey, she had other plans in mind, other scene I can't show here on YouTube. Because once she had him all tied up, she threw his ass on the ground, butt up, and she stuck some stiletto heels in his booty hole, which I believe is called is it a bukkake? Is that the correct word? He got bukkakied with a stiletto. I'm actually gonna look that up, guys, because I do like to have my sex terms right. But I believe it's a bukkake with heels. Let's see if that is the right word. Where's the bukkake where everybody comes on your face? Oh no, look, I have a Pornhub high heels bukkake porn video. So I believe well, I don't know. No, bukkake I believe is when everybody kind of comes on your face. By the way, uh this is an adult podcast, guys. If you're uncomfortable listening to this, then turn it the fuck off, okay? I'm joking with you. But yeah, guys, I watch porn. Who but anyway, she, yes, sticks the stiletto up his ass, and who's he gonna tell about that, right? Who's he gonna tell? So, perfect move, and she lets her Davenport skin rip off so he can see that it was her. It's like, I just want you to know who the stupid nigger was that did this to you. And walks off. Okay, so this was her um, kind of just fucking with him, which was great. I would like her to make sure that Tamara's okay. Okay, because she was a really sweet girl. I really hope that he doesn't take it out on Tamara. But he got traumatized for life. Ah, he did. But then let's get to the part that we all want to talk about, which is. Well, there's so many parts we all want to talk about this episode. But let me just see something. Do I have? Oh no, sorry. Um, and that's Christina and William. Oh my goodness. Okay, Christina Braithwaite. She shows up this episode a little bit here and there. And some folks in the Facebook group had guessed it right. By last episode is when I started seeing this stuff. I wanted to come on and talk about it. But, I only do these after the episodes come out. But you guys figured it out. They're like, we haven't seen those two in the same scenes together, and they look very similar. I thought they were brother and sister, but they weren't. So that what possibility does that leave? It's that they're the same motherfucking people, and that's exactly what they are. In this episode with this metamorphosis, it took about 10 minutes in for me to be like, all right, yeah, they're the same people. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. I mean, the writers weren't, and now, and we got to see the transformation. And by the way, props to the special effects department. Uh, the monsters from the first two episodes, they were okay. For me, they looked a little cheapo compared to, I don't know, Stranger Things, or there's other shows out there that have monsters. They were okay. They were terrible, but it was just like, this CGI blood, not the greatest. But the effects, the last couple episodes have been better. They do very well human effects. Like the haunted episode, the haunted house episode. I think was episode 3, right? Is it Holy Ghost or something? Um, that was really well done with all the ghosts and their special effects. The makeup was really good. Last episode too, there weren't as many effects, but they also looked really good. And this episode also, I mean, even like when they did the transformation, when you saw Ruby ripping out of Davenport or Dell, whatever you want to call her, um, coming out of her body, and they showed the face, and you could see Ruby's mouth ripping out from under it. It was so cool. It was so gory too, and this show is very gory, which I also love. And I also love the fact that they love Marilyn Manson. New album out, guys. It's getting great reviews. So, um, there's a door that's locked in the house, and I don't know why Ruby wouldn't figure out that. Hey, I mean, you never see these two together, but she's in and out. Christina's in and out. William's in and out. But hey, she didn't need to figure anything out, because when uh, William does come out this time, which for me didn't make sense, like unless maybe he wanted to show her this, but it seemed like he would make sure he wouldn't transform in front of her. Like he would know that, oh, it's time for the potion. Uh, but okay, whatever. he starts to transform. Excuse me, guys. Like I said, it's late. And out comes Christina. And Ruby's like, you were him this whole time. And funny that she said that because it did make you wonder, okay, is he actually her or is she actually him? But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Christina. Christina is the real person. And William is the body that she has decided to create for herself. Although that makes me wonder who the real William is, because there was the real deed, the real body used for that transformation. Makes you wonder, right? But what does it all mean? What does it all mean? Can, now it's your time. Comment section, guys. Comment section. What does it all mean? Obviously, she wants control of this lodge. She can't have it as a woman, so she's using him in order to give herself control. I believe this is going to give greater inspiration for Ruby to do the same, where she's going to use this white woman to give herself, Ruby, a black woman, way more power and control. So I believe that's how that's going to play out, and these two are going to connect on that level. Why did she choose Ruby? Because Ruby asked that. Why'd you choose me? Well, since we now know that it's Christina that's really operating things, I guess it's just a way to get to Lita because she needs to get in that house. She needs to get in that house. She needs to get into Titus's work, get more power, get more of this magic. So, excuse me, yawning again. So, what better way to do this than using Ruby, who is really close to her sister? That's the only theory that makes sense of why Ruby would be involved in this all of a sudden. Yeah, because if I'm sorry, if William were really just William, just a dude, I don't know if that would make as much sense. Even though, I mean, him and Christina are kind of in cahoots, but uh, I figured there would be a better way for um, Christina to connect with Ruby directly than having to use William. So that's that. Tell me what you thought of this episode. It was a bit uncomfortable because of the gore. It was very thought provoking due to the race switch. Again, recommend watching Trading Spaces. You know, Eddie Murphy, he would even do that on Saturday Night Live, where he'd put on a white face and just live the day as a white guy. Man, it's a different reality. It's a different reality. Even in 2020, which I believe is, well, not I believe, it is, by all metrics, better than 1950s America. Guys, we have come a long way. We're not all the way there yet, but we've come a long way. But it's still something like, you know, uh, if a black person just turned white, Kafka metamorphosis. Although I don't know, I think the metamorphosis would be more like how a white guy would feel if you turn into a black guy, unfortunately. But there would still be things that a black person would be like, "Whoo, I can do this! Wow, I can do this! Like, I can leave my house at 3 o'clock in the morning with gym shorts and go out for a jog." Because I work the night shift and 3 in the morning is the only time I can do it. I can do that and not be afraid that something bad's gonna happen to me. Wow. Simple things like that, right? And I once again ask any of my white audience members out there, or even Latino, hey, Asian, whatever, anyone who's not black, would you, or how would you feel if tomorrow you woke up and you were a black guy, and not just any black guy? We're talking about black Wesley Snipes, like purple black man. How would you feel about that? Okay, or woman. Okay, because those would be two different experiences. I think some people would go black woman. Black women, I think, have advanced a bit more than black men in the society. Uh, but I wonder how they would feel about being a black man. Whew, a lot to think about. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening. I hope I entertained you for about 45 minutes. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I got music on this channel. I'm actually uploading a whole lot of music because my computer almost crashed due to like all these videos I have on my laptop. So I'm uploading them because they're all stuff that I meant to upload like 3 months ago. So now I'm uploading them. So there's like music. I do live music every Friday on my Facebook page. So then I edit down the stuff that turned out all right, and the other stuff I just throw out because it's like a rehearsal that I do with my friend. We talk movies on Mondays. We talk Star Trek on Thursdays, although this past Thursday I wasn't on due to some stuff that was going on here. And as always, Sunday nights is Lovecraft night. I will talk to you guys soon. Have